The glass conference room felt like a fishbowl that morning, every executive's face visible through the walls as I stood there, frozen. Marcus Hayden, our CEO, gestured casually toward the leather chair I'd occupied for 6 years, the one at the head of our strategy table. His nephew, Tyler, sat there now, grinning like he'd just won a prize he didn't have to work for. Effective immediately, Tyler will be taking over your role as strategic lead, Marcus announced, his voice flat and matter-of-fact. He didn't even glance my way. Tyler spun the chair once, testing it, and I felt my pulse hammer in my ears. The other executives, people I'd mentored, celebrated wins with, pulled all-nighters beside, studied their laptops like they contained the secrets of the universe. My throat tightened. The humiliation burned through my chest, sharp and sudden. This couldn't be real. But the satisfied smirk on Tyler's face told me it absolutely was. I stepped into the hallway, my legs moving on autopilot while my brain screamed. The fluorescent lights felt too bright, the walls too close. Marcus's words kept replaying. You've plateaued, Arden. We need fresh energy. Fresh energy. 6 years of building this company's client base, of turning struggling accounts into million-dollar partnerships, and I'd apparently plateaued. I pressed my palm against the cool wall, steadying myself. What the hell just happened? I whispered to no one. The anger came in waves, hot and nauseating, but I forced my face into something neutral, robotic even. I wouldn't break here. Not where anyone could see. Not where Tyler could walk past and witness my devastation. I'd save that for later in private, where my fury could burn without an audience. For now, I just needed to get to my office, pack my things, and leave with whatever dignity I had left. My name is Arden Walsh. For 6 years, I was the strategic lead at Vanguard Solutions, a mid-sized consulting firm in Portland that punched way above its weight. I built that reputation. I architected the company's most profitable accounts. I trained half the people now sitting in that conference room, pretending they didn't see me being erased. And this is how they shoved me out. In one meeting with one nephew, and one smirk that said my years of dedication meant nothing when family came calling. I wasn't fired technically. They offered me a vague advisory role with no real power and a pay cut. A consolation prize designed to make me quit on my own. Marcus probably thought he was being generous. I thought about throwing my laptop through his windshield. Instead I smiled, said I'd need time to consider, and walked out before the rage bubbling in my chest could spill over into something I'd regret. The trouble started 4 months earlier, though I didn't recognize it then. Marcus called me into his office on a bright February morning, all smiles and coffee. Arden, I need a favor. Tyler's graduating this spring business degree, and I want him to learn from the best. Would you mind if he shadows you for a bit? Just observations, nothing formal. I should have said no. I should have felt the trap closing. But I loved my work, loved teaching, and Marcus had always treated me well. Or so I thought. Of course, I told him. I'd be happy to show him the ropes. Marcus clasped my shoulder like a proud father. You're the best, Arden. This means a lot to the family. Family. That word should have been my first warning. In business, family loyalty always trumps competence. Always. But I was naive enough to believe my track record would shield me. That my value was undeniable. How wrong I was. Tyler started the following week. A fresh-faced 23-year-old with perfectly styled hair and an expensive watch. He seemed eager at first, taking notes during client meetings, asking decent questions. I actually liked him initially. Then the shift happened. Subtle at first. Marcus would ask for my opinion in meetings, and I'd offer my analysis. Tyler would nod thoughtfully, then repeat my exact point 5 minutes later using slightly different words. That's exactly what I was thinking, Marcus would say, beaming at his nephew. Great instinct, Tyler. I'd sit there, invisible, wondering if I'd imagined giving that same advice moments before. It happened once, twice, a dozen times. My suggestions were dismissed when they came from my mouth, but brilliant when Tyler echoed them. I started noticing Marcus's eyes too. How they'd light up when Tyler spoke but glaze over when I did. Something cold settled in my stomach. Something was changing and I wasn't supposed to acknowledge it. The power plays began in March. Tyler started CCing Marcus on routine emails I'd been handling independently for years. "Hey Arden, just looping Marcus in for transparency," his messages would say, dripping with false politeness. Client update emails. Project timeline adjustments. Budget requests I'd submitted 100 times before. Suddenly everything needed Marcus's eyes on it, with Tyler positioned as the helpful intermediary ensuring proper oversight. I understood what he was doing, creating a paper trail that made me look dependent on supervision while he appeared conscientious and detail-oriented. The other team members noticed. I'd see them exchange glances when Tyler's CCs flooded their inboxes. But nobody said anything. Nobody wanted to challenge the CEO's nephew. So I smiled through gritted teeth, maintained my professionalism, and documented every instance in a private folder I hoped I'd never need. The folder grew thick fast. The public undermining started at the April strategy meeting. I'd spent 3 weeks preparing market projections for our healthcare division, analyzing data until my eyes burned. The numbers were solid, backed by industry trends and client feedback. I presented with confidence. Marcus cut me off halfway through. "These projections seem optimistic, Arden. Are you sure your methodology accounts for market volatility?" His tone was skeptical, almost mocking. In 6 years, he'd never questioned my data publicly. I stayed calm, walking through my analysis point by point, showing the research backing every figure. Marcus leaned back, arms crossed. "Let's see if your method still works," he said, smirking. The words hung in the air like a challenge. A warning disguised as professional skepticism. Tyler scribbled notes, wearing an expression of concerned observation that made my skin crawl. I knew then that my time was limited. Marcus was building a case against me, one dismissal at a time. I stayed late one Thursday in May, finishing a proposal that absolutely couldn't wait. The office was dark except for my desk lamp when I decided to grab coffee from the break room. On my way back, I noticed light spilling from my office. I pushed the door open. Tyler sat in my chair, going through the quarterly reports on my computer. He didn't even flinch when he saw me. "Oh hey Arden. Just trying to understand everything before I take on more responsibility." His voice was casual, easy, like he belonged there. "Before you what?" I asked, my voice tight. He smiled, that same satisfied smile from the conference room. "Marcus wants me handling more strategic accounts soon. Figured I should familiarize myself with your processes." He stood, stretching like he'd just finished a workout, and walked past me. "Your password is really easy to guess, by the way. Might want to change that." I stood there for 10 minutes after he left, shaking with fury I couldn't express. The warning was clear. Nothing was mine anymore. The Brennan account landed in June after months of negotiation. They were huge. A national retail chain looking to modernize their customer engagement strategy. I'd been courting their VP since January, building trust, addressing concerns, customizing our pitch to their exact needs. When they signed, I felt vindicated. This was undeniable proof of my value. The team gathered in the break room for impromptu celebrations. People clapped, congratulated me. Marcus showed up late, barely glanced in my direction, and immediately pulled Tyler aside. "This is your opportunity," I heard him say, hand on Tyler's shoulder. "You'll get to manage this account. Show what you can do." Tyler nodded seriously, like he'd earned this moment through years of hard work instead of inheriting it through DNA. My celebration went hollow in my chest. The account I'd fought for, bled for, would launch Tyler's career while mine quietly ended. Nobody else seemed to notice the injustice. Or maybe they just pretended not to. By July, Tyler was speaking over me in my own presentations. I'd be mid-sentence, explaining a strategy to a client, and he'd interrupt with, "What Arden means is," before rewording my exact point. The clients would nod at him, grateful for the clarification. People exchanged uncomfortable glances during these moments, but nobody intervened. I maintained my professionalism like armor, but fury simmered underneath. At night, I'd lie awake replaying each humiliation, each dismissal, each moment Tyler stole credit for my work. I documented everything in my growing folder. Emails, meeting notes, project timelines showing who'd actually done the work. But I never filed a formal complaint. I'd worked in corporate long enough to know that nepotism doesn't lose fights on paper. The family always wins. The competent employee always becomes the bitter troublemaker who couldn't handle change. So I stayed quiet, smiled, and waited for the axe I knew was coming. The HR conversation happened on a Thursday. Simone, a quiet rep I'd always liked, cornered me near the parking garage. She looked nervous, guilty almost. "Arden, I probably shouldn't tell you this." She glanced around like Marcus might materialize from the shadows. "Tyler is being positioned for major expansion. The CEO wants him visible on all flagship accounts. Just be aware." She squeezed my arm once, a gesture of sympathy, and walked away quickly. I stood there in the dimly lit garage, understanding exactly what Simone couldn't say directly. This wasn't a fair competition I could win through merit. This was a done deal. Tyler was the future. I was the obstacle being carefully removed. The company I'd helped build, the team I'd mentored, the accounts I'd won. None of it mattered against bloodline. I drove home that night gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white, trying not to scream. The setup came during the Brennan account kickoff meeting in early August. I'd prepared meticulously, triple-checking every detail. The night before, I'd emailed Tyler requesting the updated analytics he'd been compiling. "We'll send first thing tomorrow," he'd replied. Tomorrow came. 8 a.m. no email. 9 a.m. nothing. 10 a.m. the meeting was starting in an hour. Still silence. Called him. Voicemail. Texted. No response. By meeting time, I had no choice but to present using last quarter's data and improvise around the gaps. I pulled it off because I'm good at what I do, but it wasn't flawless. After the clients left, Marcus called me into his office. "That was sloppy, Arden. Not your usual standard." Tyler appeared then, all apologetic concern. "I'm so sorry, Marcus. I forgot to send those files. Completely my fault." He turned to me, eyes wide with manufactured regret. "Arden, I should have prioritized that. I let you down." The performance was theatrical, obvious. But Marcus ate it up. "These things happen. Just communicate better next time." He looked at me. "Both of you." I couldn't take it anymore. The next day, I requested a private meeting with Marcus. His assistant scheduled 15 minutes between other appointments. That should have told me everything. I sat across from him in his expansive office, surrounded by awards the company had won largely because of strategies I'd developed. "Marcus, if there's a problem with my performance, I need to know directly." He leaned back, studying me like I was a temperamental child. "Arden, there's no problem. You've done great work." His tone said otherwise. "Then why is Tyler taking over my accounts? Why am I being excluded from strategy meetings I used to lead?" He sighed, the kind of sigh that said he was being patient with someone irrational. "Maybe it's time you accept you've reached your ceiling here." Tyler brings fresh perspective. New energy. It's not personal. Everything about his expression said it absolutely was. I felt the floor drop out beneath me. This was it. The moment my career at Vanguard died. Not with a bang but with a CEO's condescending smile and corporate platitudes about fresh perspective. 2 weeks later, I stood in that glass conference room, watching Tyler spin in my chair while Marcus announced my demotion like he was discussing the weather. The advisory role they offered was an insult wrapped in pretend kindness. Minimal responsibilities, reduced pay, no real authority. A way to make me quit so they could avoid a wrongful termination lawsuit. The executives filed out awkwardly after the meeting. A few mumbled generic sympathies. Most avoided eye contact entirely. I returned to my office, soon to be former office, and began packing. 6 years fit into 3 cardboard boxes. Photos from company retreats. Awards engraved with my name. A coffee mug that said "World's Best Strategist." A gag gift from my team that suddenly felt painfully ironic. Tyler appeared in my doorway as I taped the last box shut. No hard feelings, right? This is just business. I looked at him for a long moment. You're absolutely right, Tyler. It's just business. I picked up my boxes and walked out, my heels clicking against the tile in steady, dignified rhythm. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me crumble. I made it to my car before the breakdown hit. I set the boxes in the trunk carefully, climbed into the driver's seat, and locked the doors. Then I fell apart. Silent, shaking sobs that felt like they'd crack my ribs. Tears I'd been holding back for months. Fury so hot it made my hands tremble. I'd given Vanguard everything. Weekends, holidays, relationships I'd neglected because closing deals always came first. And they discarded me for a 23-year-old with no accomplishments beyond being born into the right family. I cried until my eyes burned and my throat was raw. Then I sat there in the parking garage, surrounded by the humming fluorescent lights, and felt something shift. The grief burned away, leaving something colder and sharper behind. Clarity. I will not let them define me, I said aloud, my voice steel. They'd taken my position, but they couldn't take my skills, my reputation, my network. Marcus thought he'd won. He had no idea what was coming. I didn't update my resume. Didn't post about leaving Vanguard on social media. Didn't send out mass emails to my network. I went silent, letting people wonder. Word traveled anyway. It always does in our industry. 3 days after leaving Vanguard, I got a call from an unknown number. Arden Walsh. This is Tobias Brennan. My heart jumped. Tobias Brennan, CEO of Catalyst Innovations, Vanguard's biggest competitor. We'd met at industry conferences, always had good conversations. He'd once told me I had the sharpest strategic mind in Portland. I thought it was just conference flattery. I heard about what happened at Vanguard, Tobias continued. Marcus is an idiot. We want you. Senior strategy director, your own team, and actual respect for your work. Can we talk? I glanced at the boxes still sitting in my apartment, unpacked. At the future I thought I'd lost. Yes, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. Let's talk. We met for coffee that afternoon. By evening, I had an offer that paid 30% more than Vanguard ever had, with real autonomy and a CEO who'd built his company on merit, not nepotism. I started at Catalyst the following Monday, walking into an office that felt lighter somehow. Smaller team but hungrier. Sharper. People who'd been hired because they were brilliant, not because they were related to someone brilliant. Tobias introduced me at the morning meeting. Arden Walsh is joining us as Senior Strategy Director. Most of you know her reputation. She's going to help us dominate this market. No qualifiers about plateaus or fresh energy. Just straightforward respect. My new team welcomed me genuinely, excited to learn, asking thoughtful questions about my approach. Got to build again. Design strategies without Tyler stealing credit. Present to clients without being interrupted. Make decisions that were actually implemented. The first major pitch I led, we won against 2 larger firms. Tobias pulled me aside after. This is what happens when you let talented people actually do their jobs, he said, grinning. I went home that night feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Valued. The vindication tasted sweeter than I'd imagined. The messages started in October. Former colleagues from Vanguard reaching out privately, carefully. Hey Arden, hope you're doing well. Things here are interesting. Then more direct. The Brennan account is a disaster. Tyler has no idea what he's doing. Then desperate. 3 people quit this week. Leadership is scrambling. Any advice? I read each message, staying carefully neutral in my responses. I didn't want revenge exactly. I'd moved past that. But justice. That felt different. That felt earned. I heard through industry connections that Tyler had missed 2 major deadlines on the Brennan account, the one I'd spent months securing. That Marcus was personally stepping in to salvage relationships. That the Vanguard team was working ridiculous hours trying to compensate for Tyler's incompetence. I felt conflicted. Part of me wanted them to suffer for what they'd done. Another part just felt sad that something I'd helped build was crumbling. But mostly I felt vindicated. They'd chosen nepotism over competence. Now they were learning what that choice actually cost. The Brennan account left Vanguard in November. Their VP called me directly. "Arden, Tyler is in over his head. Missed deadlines, poor communication, strategies that make no sense. We're done with Vanguard. We want to work with Catalyst, specifically with you." I took the call in my office, watching rain streak down the windows. This was the account I'd fought for, nurtured, won for Vanguard. Now it was coming to me because they'd been stupid enough to hand it to someone unqualified. "We'd be honored to work with you," I told the VP, keeping my voice professional. After hanging up, I sat there for a moment processing. This wasn't revenge. This was consequence. Natural consequence of Marcus choosing family over competence. Tobias was ecstatic. "Landing Brennan is huge for us. You're already transforming this company." I smiled, but inside I kept thinking about Tyler sitting in my old office, probably panicking as his facade crumbled. About Marcus realizing too late that appearances don't replace actual skill. About karma working faster than I'd dared hope. In December, Vanguard announced an internal audit. The official statement cited routine evaluation of operational efficiency, but industry insiders knew better. Companies don't do emergency audits during their busiest quarter unless something's seriously wrong. I heard through my network that the audit revealed major problems. Tyler had been falsifying client satisfaction metrics to hide his failures. He'd been taking credit for work his team did, claiming victories that never happened, covering massive gaps with fiction and Marcus's blind faith. The board wasn't happy. Investors started asking uncomfortable questions. Marcus defended his nephew fiercely, insisting the problems were growing pains and minor miscommunications. But the evidence was damning. Tyler had left a trail of incompetence hidden under layers of family protection. Now that protection was cracking. I read the leaked audit summary a former colleague sent me, each page confirming what everyone except Marcus already knew. Tyler never deserved that chair. He'd just been born into the right family. Competence, apparently, couldn't be inherited. The investor meeting happened in January. I wasn't there, obviously, but screenshots of the transcript circulated through industry backchannels within hours. Brutal didn't begin to describe it. Investors questioned Marcus's judgment directly, citing declining client retention and missed revenue targets. "Your leadership decisions have cost this company significantly," one investor stated bluntly. Tyler apparently crumbled under questioning, unable to explain basic strategic choices. Marcus lost his temper, actually yelled at board members, defending his nephew with emotion instead of evidence. The professional mask completely slipped. "He needs time to grow," Marcus shouted according to the transcript. "He has potential. Potential doesn't pay investors," someone replied coldly. The meeting ended with a motion to review executive leadership, including the CEO position. I read the transcript twice, feeling something shift in my chest. Not triumph exactly. More like witnessing inevitable gravity. What goes up without foundation must eventually fall. Marcus had built Tyler's career on sand. Now the tide was coming in. 3 major clients left Vanguard in February. A consulting firm losing 3 flagship accounts in 1 week is catastrophic. Industry newsletters covered it. Analysts speculated about financial instability. Former Vanguard employees started flooding the job market, updating their profiles, reaching out to competitors. The exodus was public and humiliating. Tyler made the killing blow himself. He greenlit a marketing campaign for their healthcare division without proper legal review. The campaign violated federal regulations, resulting in fines and a PR nightmare. Marcus tried to contain the damage, but it was too late. The board called an emergency vote. I heard about it from 3 different sources before the official announcement dropped. Marcus Hayden was removed as CEO, effective immediately. The statement cited persistent leadership failures and critical talent mismanagement resulting in significant financial losses. Tyler was stripped of all strategic responsibilities, demoted to an entry-level analyst position where he could do minimal damage. The company I'd helped build for 6 years was collapsing, and the people who'd pushed me out were finally facing consequences. I read the announcement slowly, my hands trembling. Not from triumph, from release. The news broke on a Tuesday morning. I was in my office at Catalyst, preparing for a client presentation, when my phone exploded with notifications. Industry newsletters, former colleagues, LinkedIn updates. Everyone was talking about Vanguard's implosion. Marcus Hayden fired in a unanimous board vote. Tyler Hayden removed from all leadership tracks. A public statement acknowledging failures in strategic decision-making and personnel management that resulted in the departure of key talent. Key talent. They meant me though they didn't say my name. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the statement on my screen. 6 months ago, Marcus had told me I'd plateaued. That Tyler brought fresh energy. Now Marcus was unemployed. Tyler was disgraced. And I was thriving at a company that actually valued competence. I thought I'd feel more satisfaction. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired from months of proving I was worth more than they'd believed. Tired from carrying anger that had finally burned itself out. The vindication was real. But mostly I just felt ready to move forward without looking back. 2 weeks later, Tobias called me into his office. "Arden, the board and I have been discussing your performance. You've exceeded every expectation." He slid a folder across his desk. "We're promoting you to Senior Director of Strategic Development. You'll be leading our entire West Coast expansion." I opened the folder, scanning the details. Significant raise. Equity stake in the company. A team of 12 strategists reporting directly to me. My own glass office overlooking the city. Earned through resilience, results, and refusing to accept being undervalued. "Thank you," I managed, fighting back unexpected tears. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Tobias smiled. "You built this, Arden. Every client we've landed since you arrived, every strategy that's working, that's you. We're lucky to have you." Later that afternoon, I stood in my new office, looking out at Portland's skyline. This space was mine. Not because someone felt obligated to give me a chance, but because I'd proven my worth undeniably. My team trusted me, followed me, valued my perspective. I'd built something stronger than revenge. I'd built a legacy. 3 months later, I was reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant knocked. "There's a call for you. Marcus Hayden." I stared at her. Marcus. The man who'd replaced me with his unqualified nephew. Who'd dismissed my 6 years of dedication with a condescending smile. Who'd learned too late that loyalty can't replace competence. I almost declined. Then curiosity won. "Put him through." "Arden." His voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Defeated. "I heard about your promotion. Congratulations. You deserve it." Silence. Then. "I made a mistake. Huge one. I should never have." "Marcus," I interrupted gently. "I appreciate the call, but we both know what happened. You chose family over competence. That's your right. But it was also my permission to find somewhere that actually valued my work." More silence. "If you're calling to ask if Catalyst is hiring, you should know Tobias doesn't do nepotism. Merit only." I heard him exhale. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You were right about everything." After we hung up, I sat there for a moment, then smiled softly. Not vindicatively. Peacefully. Some people aren't wrong for replacing you. They're wrong for thinking you were replaceable. I stood, straightening my blazer, and walked toward my conference room. My team was waiting. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click. The story was over. My new chapter had begun.